Alrighty, y'all, welcome back. And in this video, what I'm going to be doing is starting on the front end for the shop feature. I already built out a few pieces of it, but we'll get into the meat and potatoes of it in this video. And I also want to mention that we left off in the last video with a little bit of back-end logic still to write. However, in between the last video and this one, I did do a little bit of work with the payment logic. So the payment processing for whenever you place an order is all taken care of now. And on that note, the backend is really all completed now. So you can see the payment logic is pretty simple. Basically, pretty self-explanatory, but you add up the price of everything in the cart, deduct it from the buyer's wallet and add it to the seller's wallet. And then we're just, of course, saving that. And then we're streaming down those updated balances to both the buyer and the seller. So again, pretty self-explanatory how that payment logic works. But on that note, as long as we don't have any bugs or, we have to make any tweaks to like the response data for any of these endpoints, the backend for the shop should be working now. So let's go ahead and hop over to the front end and I'll show you what I have so far. So this is actually TNBOS, eventually what we're going to be building out. But for the website, what I have is I just added a link to the left menu shop, and it takes you to this shop section. And the shop layout consists of a top toolbar and then the bottom pages that we're going to be building out one by one. And you have a buy toolbar and a sell toolbar. So these are like two main sections of the shop app or feature, whatever we're going to call it. Now, the buy section has a home page, and this is where this section is going to go, this product catalog, I'm calling it. And it also has a page for your addresses, where you're going to receive your items, your orders, and of course your cart or checkout section. And for the sell section, it's pretty simple. You're just going to have a list of products and orders. So the way we're going to be building this out is actually kind of similar to the back end, kind of like how everything is pieced together naturally, I would say. And by that, I mean the first thing that we need before we can, browse products or add anything to the cart is, of course, a product. So I'm going to be building out the page for the sell products. And again, I'm going to have right now on TNBOS, this is done through using a modal, but I actually want to create a separate page for this because, I don't know, I just think it would be a better UX. Then you can use the same page whether you're adding or editing products. But either way, I'm going to have a form to add and edit products. And then after that, we can start on this page right here where you can browse those products. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So I am in shop right now, sell products. This is what's actually, so this page is going to have a list of your products. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a heading that says pretty much this heading right here with products, and then we'll have a button on the right that says add, and whenever the user clicks this, it'll just take them to pretty much this page right here. So let's just start with this top heading for now. And all right, so I actually want to borrow that from TNBOS. So it is this section heading, and that is this section heading component. And I also have a separate component just for this line right here because I reuse that in a couple places and I want to standardize it. So before we get to this, let's just go ahead and borrow some of these components from TNBOS. And all right, so I'm going to copy this entire line component, and in my components here, I don't have line already, do I? Nope. So just paste that in. And all right. So the styles are just coming from there. Colors, border, default. All right. So a line component. Okay. So all this line component is just a horizontal line. It doesn't have any border. It has a border top of 1 pixel and no margin. Basically just a 1 pixel gray line. All right, that looks good. And now with that taken care of, we can go ahead and make this section heading component. So what this component is going to consist of basically a top section that has a heading on the left and optional right content on the right. And this can either be a button or, well, really anything. It's just going to be any valid React node. So yeah, let's just go ahead and copy this. So section heading, move it over to my front end app. And now let's see. For the heading, I actually don't want this color. The contents are going to display flex between, and padding bottom. And now this. Okay. So now this should be good for the section heading. So I'll say import import section heading from section heading. And now let's do this. So on TNBOS, I'm of course rendering it. Actually, let's just get something rendered on the screen first. Products. Alright, so first we need some padding on the page. And what was my padding for TNBOS? Interesting. Actually, let's not do that. Let me see what my padding was on one of these pages. All right, so this page has a padding of 16 all around. So on my shop, so I am also going to have a padding of 16 all around. All right, looking good. And now what we can do, that heading might be too big, by the way. Yeah, let's go like 24. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. Okay, so the heading is gonna have 24. All right, and now what I want to do is I want to render a button on the right. So let me just look at the logic for TNBOS, render add product button. And okay, so I probably don't need to break that out until its own component, but all right. Well, maybe that's better actually. All right, actually, let me try to find a button that's used outside of form. Okay. All right, so import the button. Actually, maybe I will. Am I rendering any other buttons? All right, so for this, I'm just going to return and the text will have the same as this. And just say add, and what was the other? Right content render button. Add a semicolon. And how are we looking so far? Button add. And how is my padding looking? Actually, I think that what I want to do, align items flex end. Why is that? Why am I getting a little extra padding under the products? Is my line height? Actually, what is my line height? A line height of 1. There we go. That's what I wanted. But now that actually doesn't look that great. I know it takes time, but whoa. 1.2. Okay, 1.2. I know these are just small changes, but you know, it's always good to pay attention to the detail. It's what separates like a high school project from a more, you know, try to make it more professional whenever we can. Even though I am far from any designer, I like to try my best. All right, so the heading is gonna have a line height of 1.2. That's what I think looks the best. And now let's add some click logic to this button. So on click, what it's gonna do, this one toggles product modal, but in this case, we wanna navigate to a new page, a page that we didn't create yet. So before you even write the click handler for this, let me go ahead and make that page. Now the page is here. Do I have that? Yeah. So I'll say cell, create edit product. So product details. Actually, let me pull up this as well. Yeah, cell, create edit product. So for my page naming convention, so since all my pages are split up into 2 sections, buy or sell, I'm just prepending it with either buy or sell. I'll say sell, create edit product. All right. Now we're gonna have new styles, and then we're gonna have a new component. And why is this? Why am I getting this? Oh, system types. Oh, wait a minute. I'm on the wrong. Oops. IDE error occurred. What? Yeah, I got too many projects open right now. Losing track. So git revert. Why did an IDE error occur? Okay. So create edit product. I'm worried about the error. Where did it pop up? Okay, so git add. All right. So whenever the user clicks on this button, what we want to do is navigate to this page. In that case, I need to update my routing logic for the shop to say to render that page. And I am going to say now, what is the URL for that page? I'll say create edit product, and that URL cell/create edit product is going to render that create edit product. So now what we can do is we can write the navigation logic. So navigate, navigate, navigate. All right, so to navigate, we're gonna use this hook, use navigate, and then we're gonna create a navigate variable referencing that hook, and then we can make a click handler. So handle add, actually handle button click. We only have one button, so no need to differentiate. And what, so all we need to do is this. Navigate to shop, create edit product. Shop sell, create edit product. And on click, handle button click, and that should be good. So let's test. Actually, let me really quick just take a peek in my, since everything is running, since yeah, what was this? A solidity. That's interesting. Whenever I pasted something, okay, that's weird and interesting. So I wrote those files in the wrong project, so I copied it and pasted it into this one, and then when I did, there's an error with my Solidity plugin, which is weird because we're not writing any Solidity at all. Funny how things are. Okay. Anywho, moving on. Let's see. So I'm on this page. I click add, and it takes me to this page: sell, create, edit product. Looking good. Now, what I could do is, since this is going to be a form, and let me show you. So this is going to be a form that looks somewhat like this, not exactly, but something like this, where you can either add a new product or you edit an existing one. And in this case, since we're using this as a web application, what the kind of standard is, I guess, is that whenever you're creating a new one, you just go to the URL like this. And then whenever you are editing something, you can pass in that object ID. However, I actually set this up a little bit different in another app that I was working on, Cooking Social Network. And what I did in this case is, let me see exactly how this is structured, because I remember I really liked it. All right, so create edit recipe. Yeah. So I'll show you what I did here. So I basically have a slice or just a variable in my Redux store that's called active recipe. And this is either going to be equal to null or a recipe. And I just, whenever I navigate to the page, if I am just creating a new one, then I just set it equal to null. And that means, hey, there's nothing there. And if I am editing one, then I just set it to that active recipe in the store. And that way, whenever I go to this page, it either has one in it or it doesn't. And I don't know, I just think it was like a piece of cake working with, because then you can just check this in the store. Don't gotta worry about, oh, wait a minute though. No, that's good. Yeah, I think that's fine. Since what logic I'm thinking through is, what happens if they go to that page and they refresh it, but that's going to be fine too, because then it's just going to look for the active recipe or active product in the store. And yeah, so we'll go with this logic for now. And what was this called? Active recipe. Okay. So what we need to do in this case is first type out a product. So in my types, we will just go with products. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is create a TypeScript interface for products. And in order to do that, I'm gonna have ChatGPT help me out a little bit. Actually, how am I gonna do this? So shop models product inherits from both item and created modified. And do I have created modified now? So created date. All right, so let's go ahead and do some cleanup. All right. So I want to structure my TypeScript interfaces similar to the backend. And you see here, a lot of my models or interfaces are inheriting from created and modified on the backend. So I'm kind of writing some duplicate code here, and I want to clean that up right now. This one can be cleaned up, this one can be cleaned up, this one can be cleaned up. So in order to avoid tech debt, let's go ahead and make another generic type for created and modified. And I want to see if I did it here too. Okay, so first things first, let's go ahead and have ChatGPT write a TypeScript interface for this shared base class. All right. Oh, mama. All right, and should we stick this in generic or not? Actually, I don't think so. Since on the back end, it is in its own file, so let's just stick with the same pattern. All right, so for types, I'm gonna have a new file, TypeScript file, created and modified, 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 had to make sure I spelled it right. And okay, so that is looking good. Now for the types, let's go ahead and import that. And why is it not finding that? Did I not export anything? What's going on here? Yep, forgot to export it. Okay, so from this, we're just doing this, and this is just so I can have all my types nice and neat. All right, so we got the create and modify type, and now what we can do is create a products type. So actually, before you even get to that, what I want to do is just clean up all of these existing ones. So from created and modified, and for the wallet, extends created modified, get rid of created and modified. So wallet is taken care of, and now it's going to be for exchange, core, and trades. Get rid of you, get rid of you. All right, nice and neat. And now, on that note, let's go ahead and make that products type. So new TypeScript file. And this is going to use the same pattern as this. So the pattern I'm going to be using is I'm going to type everything out, and then in my Redux store, I am storing all the products as an object that are keyed by the ID, just so I can look everything up quickly. So that's what this dict is doing right here. So this is a raw product, and this is how it's going to be stored in my Redux store. And for this, let me just replace wallet with product. And what I want to do is, first of all, since we're going to be, all right, so remember that our products inherit from item, and item is just all of this like item related information, image, name, description, price, yada, yada, yada. And also the order product also inherits from item. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another interface for item, and then when I type out product and order product, it's just going to inherit from those. Keep everything nice and neat. So and while that's doing that, I can go ahead and make, where do I want to put this? Let's just go ahead. All right, so this is also stored in item. So let's just keep it nice and simple. So item, yeah, I'll just say items. Okay. Core. So wait a minute, yeah, the core is just going to be a number. Yeah. Okay, so price core is just going to be an ID of a core, which is just a number. And also, I don't want camel case, because this is just going to be straight up API data. So price amount and price core. All right, so export item, description, image name, price amounts number, quantity number, and okay. So first thing I'm going to do is just product. All right, so product extends created, modified date, and item. And then I need to type out the actual product data. So for the product data, and I'm gonna need an enum for this. Activation status. Okay. Okay. Also, what am I going to do about seller? Thinking about that. All right. So in enums, let's just go ahead and say, what's it, exchange orders? Okay, so we can just do products. All right, so going to create a new enum, and we'll just say that this is called activation status. And the values for this are active and draft. And then let me just go ahead and import those, and those are under products. And that was activation status. Activation status. Now pretty this up. Cool. All right, now for products. From enums, we are going to have an activation status, and that is going to be activation status. And then we just have a seller. Now let's see how the products are coming back. So in the product serializer, we have the seller being serialized as a user read serializer. So that's how I'm going to store it in my Redux store. Now, let's see this. So API users. Okay. Create user response. Okay, so I think I'm just going to create an interface. Yeah, to match my serializer name. So let me do this. Let me just, can I just get products? Get out of here thing. Okay. So actually this is just the user read serializer. Okay. So just the ID and the username for now, right? ID, username, that is my seller user read serializer. So what I'm gonna do is this. Export interface user read serializer, and this is equal to this right here. So in my create user response, the user is a reference to this, and also let me just users, we also get the user read serializer. All right, and then for seller right here, this is in types API users. So in the product, we called it seller. Yeah. Okay. So actually, let me close some of this stuff. Okay. So product is inheriting from created, modified an item, activation status, equal activation status enum, and the seller that's going to be stored is a serialized version of the user, which is referenced by the user read serializer. And now let me just make sure my imports. All right, now from, actually we didn't even do it yet, did we? Nope, okay. All right, so products is right under manager. All right, now we just need to import product and products, and then we can begin LLP QRS don't know my ABC, so I have to sing the song. All right, so now everything's typed out. Now we can go ahead and set up our store. So I'm gonna create a new slice, call it products. And for the key that we need to make, elemental P, QRS, products. All right, so now that I got that taken care of, let me just go ahead and see if I can, this is interesting. So this modified date, oh wait, did I accidentally, yep, okay, so create a date. And then modified date. In my rename, I accidentally converted those to camel case. So, all right, should be looking good. And I believe, so I'm just looking at my wallets slice right now, since I am pretty much going to use the same structure for store. Basically have two reducer functions in here. One is for setting the item, and then this sets it all from a list. So basically set multiple at a time or set an individual one. And I don't even think that we need this logic right here, since the reason that I had this, actually let me show you another one. So in my store, usually, yeah. So usually whenever I set information, you can just say, since I want a key under ID, I can just do state ID equals payload. But for wallets, I have some tricky logic that says if there is no state ID, basically if there's nothing yet, then you just want to set it. Or if you do have one, then compare the modified date against the one you're trying to update. And the reason for this is because anytime there's a balance related update on the back end, that gets streamed down on the front end. However, two balance updates could happen like very quickly together. And I just thought it was like a little race condition on the front end where I want to make sure that I populate the Redux store with the most recently modified one. And for example, this happens a lot. I'll actually show you. Like let's say that you are placing a trade right here. Well, the moment you place a trade, then your balance is going to get updated because you had to pay for that trade. However, let's say that that trade gets filled within like a fraction of a second. Well, then you're going to get another update that comes down. So you're going to have like this race condition where you get two updated balances and the front end needs to figure out what's the more recent one. But for the shop app, I don't think that's really necessary. So that is why instead of using this as a boilerplate, I'll use trades. Okay. So for my products store, I'm first going to replace trades with products. And then replace trade. Actually, I can just do this, trade with product. And it says ID doesn't exist because we forgot to put an ID on the product right here. Actually, maybe we can just stick it in an item. It feels a little bit weird doing that. All right, so in my types, let me just go to trades. Could definitely type that out faster, but all right. All right, so all products also have an ID. Don't need that anymore. And let me just convert this as well. Trades to products. All right, so this should be good, but let me just read through it, make sure it makes sense. Okay, so for the products slice, we are just using this constant we created. Looks to be named correctly. And then we're importing product and products here. The shape of the state is product, which is pretty much just a dictionary where the key is the product ID and the value is a product. And for the slice, we're just going to call it products, initial state, nothing, and then name, reducer, the payload action. Whenever you're setting product, just pass in a product, and then it's going to store that under the ID. And then whenever you set multiple products at once, for example, whenever you go to the this page right here, then what this is going to do is it's going to fetch all your products from the back end, and it's going to set them as a list. So then we just want to pretty much create a reducer function to convert that list into an object keyed by ID, and that all looks good. All right, so now in our store, now that we have the slice set up, let's just go ahead and kind of patch everything together here. So that is products under manager, so manager. And we will call this products reducer. So I would say the products are going to be stored in the products reducer. And now that we got that slice taken care of, what we want to do now is actually just go ahead and update our manager to include an active product. All right. So in my manager, which is kind of just like some, so how can I explain this? So there are just like miscellaneous things I need to keep track of on the front end, and they are almost like you almost might think about sticking them in state. But for example, whenever the user selects an asset pair right here, I just didn't want to keep it in state, because if the user ever navigates away and comes back to this, then I wanted to remember what asset pair they had. And also, like on this, I think this might be one to, yeah. So you see that on the wallets page, you have deposit and withdraw. Well, I thought it was better that if the user navigated away and came back, it remembered what tab they had. So I didn't want to keep it in component state, because then anytime the component gets unmounted, then it would forget it. So, you know, just like these little miscellaneous UI things. So anyways, that is where I'm going to stick active product. And basically, if you have an active product and you go to that create edit page, it means that's the one you want to edit. If you don't have any active product, it means you want to create a new product. But we'll say active product. And for this is going to be a product or null. And actually, I set the wrong location. So active product is going to be a product or null. And for this, that's coming from types. And then the initial state for this is actually just going to be null. And I don't need this. Okay. So now what I can do is in my sell products. Yeah, and what is the update manager? Okay. So now, finally, what we can do is whenever we click this button right here, this add button, you see how it's going to take us to this page right here? Well, what we want to do, even though we don't have any way of setting these active products right now, what we are going to do is just go ahead and, all right. So we're going to need a couple different things here. So update manager, this is coming from store manager. And we also need dispatch, and that's going to come from types. Use dispatch, and that's going to come from React Redux. And then what else do we got going on here? Dispatch from the hook. And all right. So whenever we click this button to add a new product. We want to set the active product to null. Basically saying we're not trying to edit anything. We are creating a brand new one. And yeah, believe we are good to go. Cool. And actually, let me just do some real quick QA. Now, since I updated state, let me just go ahead and log back in. And first, let's check our Redux store and make sure, okay, our product slice is in there. And then in here, whenever I click this button, I should see this action triggered, which is going to set the manager's active product to null. And that's exactly what it did. Manager active product to null, looking good. Okay. So now what we need to do on this page is pretty much just start building out our form, which is going to be responsible for us adding a product. Now okay, so let me think about this. So we're going to need to treat this form a little bit special since we're working with form data. In other words, we need to, we can't just use JSON to send up because we're going to be uploading an image for the product as well. But before I do that, let me just go ahead and start structuring some things. So close all of those, and under these pages, shop, sell, create, edit product. So gotta get a water in my throat, it's a bit parched. Oh yeah, baby. Okay, so let's see where else on the app we have a form that we can steal from. So on the withdraw section, that looks like an easy place. Okay, so we'll say account number. Close that for now. And okay. So let's first. All right, what are we going to need? Formic, form, input, and button. So formic, form, buttons, inputs, and that may be good. So now, steal this. Thank you very much. You need to React as well. Why? Why did it import you? For no reason at all. Fascinating. Okay. All right. So let's actually get rid of this. And all right. Okay, let's do this. So for handle submit, what we can do is this. So we'll say that a product has a name and a description for now. Has some other fields, but baby steps. And let's see. Let's get the product type. So type. Okay, so product is going to have a name and a description. And I'll just say here we'll have an input for name and description. And then description. And eventually, whenever we submit this form, we are going to want to, of course, make a request to our API. But for now, let's just go ahead and log out these values. All right. Now, the name of the button, this can just be, should be create or submit. Actually, let's just do submit for now. All right. So right now we should have a form. We don't need these form helpers for now. And we just need a validation schema. And let's just get this from, where are we gonna get it? This looks good for now. Actually, let's get something with, you can steal this one. Okay. So the validation schema, in other words, how are we gonna validate this data? All right, so for now, what we can do is we can just say that description must be a string and name also must be a string. And now let me make sure that this is working. So I'm shopping and going to the shop app and I'm gonna sell a product. I'm gonna add a product and now I get this form right here. And now for the name, I'm just gonna put, what do we got right here? I guess I'm selling a birthday cake, and the description is, look at all my auto-completes, nice and juicy. Okay, so now I can submit this and look at this, logging out that data. So now, first thing I wanna do is just add some padding around here since it's driving me out a bit nuts. And I'll just stick with this padding of 16. Actually, should we center this form? Since on my, let me look what I did for my cooking website. So the pages, create and edit styles, the container, 0 auto 42 pixels, interesting. So I center aligned it, but let's see how that looks. Center, aligned, or left? The bajillion-dollar question. Let's go ahead and center align it. I think that looks pretty good. So margin, okay, we can stick with this. Actually, how many fields are we gonna have, and does that even matter? You know what, for now, I'm just gonna leave it like this. It doesn't look that bad, and for now we're just really trying to build out the logic of it. So, well, what can I say? Ooh, you know, another thing that we're gonna need to do that we might as well do now is this. What? Okay. So, yeah, here I'm also, okay, so I'm gonna need a file input. Because I wanna kind of take care of the image uploading process already. And actually, before I do that, let me just go ahead and see what are all the required fields for this. So whenever you set a product, you need price core, quantity. All right. So what I can do is this. So pretty much going to steal all this logic, or if there's an image in the form, then render. Okay, so if you don't have an image uploaded already, then you want to render this file selector, otherwise render this preview of the image. And the render preview, what this is going to do there's a preview. Okay. So basically, if there is an image, then set equal to the image source. Otherwise, don't return anything. And I just render it here. So let's start getting this prepared. So what do we need? Working from kind of the inside out. So the image container, and then an image, and then a close button container. So image container, image, minimize you for now. So image container, image, and then a close button container. So basically if they're, hold on, let me add this and I'll talk you through it. So we, in our form right here, we're gonna have a file selector for image, and then once they select one from their system, it's gonna be displayed as a thumbnail right here. And if they ever want to like change images, then they have to, there's gonna be a little X button on the top right corner, and then they can just close it and select another one. So let's go ahead and hop back in here. And now that they have this, we can have render preview and move this over here. So render preview, we have preview, set preview, and MDI icon. So I need U2, and then preview and set preview. All right. Looking good, and now render preview is used where? All right here, render preview gets passed in set field value from right here. Render preview, there we go. And I also have this bumper, and this just adds some padding, and I'm also gonna need that. Okay. And yeah. And
recording?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. Looks good. And okay, so now I actually just need the file selector, and that's going to come from here. So this is a custom field, a file input, and a change, handle change. And I don't have this element yet in this application. So this is my cooking front end. All right. So form elements, file input, my components, form elements, need a file input. Didn't get a solidity error that time, so that's good. And then for this file input, just want to make sure my styling is right. Red, this is my error message. Okay, so let me just read over this. So this file input, which is an input field that accepts an image, type file. Then if you have an error message, you're going to display the error message below. And then once I have that taken care of, let me go ahead and add it to my little form elements master file. So file input, file input, file input here, and now I can use it. EFGHI. Good. So values image, that means that I need an image in the initial values, which is going to be an empty string. And also, what else do we got? So on change, handle file change, touched, component, file image should Actually, where's this field coming from? Okay. So right above the preview, so we're gonna have this, and the values. So first we need to get the values from the form, and if there is no image, then render the button. If there is an image, render the preview. And now for just import field, and where are you coming from? Formic. So Formic, import field as well, and then on change, handle file change. And here we have handle file change, reader. Okay, so for handle file change, you're pretty much going to look at the file that they selected, and you're going to create a new file reader, set preview to that data, and then the preview of it will be displayed. Okay, should be good. And then, yeah, we're just logging out this right here. So make sure nothing broke. Check it out. So, wait, didn't I add padding to this? Container, padding 16. All right, so now let me choose a file. What about this desk that I'm selling? Beautiful. And now you see this little close button. This is what I'm talking about. So we are looking good right now. Choose something else, this Python logo, and close it. Beautiful, mate. And actually, let me saying 800 times here. Let me just go ahead and submit this. So 34, yada yada, submit it. And then we're submitting all of this juicy, beautiful data. Looking pretty good. Huh, nice. Okay, and now, actually, let me go ahead and add, why isn't this bumper being used? All right, so the bumper goes under the preview, just to give it that space between the button and the image. And what are you yelling at me for? Beautiful, 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 absolutely beautiful. Okay, now we pretty much just have to add the rest of our fields in. So let's go ahead and figure out what fields we need. And you know what else? Okay, let's just do this one by one, nice and slow. So yeah, this is going to be a checkbox, activation status, active or not. Actually, should we start with the item? Might be easier this way. So image name, description, amount, price amount, price core, and quantity. Okay. All right, so price amount, price core, quantity. So those 6, which I already have. And then in addition, activation status, and then ID and seller, as well as created and modified date, we don't need to pass in. So just activation status. Okay. So let's, so activation status, this is going to be a checkbox, and I already have a checkbox element somewhere. Not create and edit recipe. Where was it? TNBOS. So TNBOS in my apps, shop, and under my pages. What page was that? Sell product details, maybe? Yeah. So I have this checkbox element, and that is coming from this component, checkbox. Okay. So let's steal this component from TNBOS, the checkbox, and that is going in form elements. So checkbox, and the styles file for this are just under styles, and for the error color, actually what's the label? Just the default, so I shouldn't need that. And for the error color, what did we have? Color palette red. So for the error color, it's color palette red. Just make sure everything else looks good. And for the checkbox props, those should all be good too. Export styles is checkbox styles. Don't think we need to do that. Unless we need to. Okay. Unless we need to update the styling or anything, but I don't think we do. So now we can use that, oops. Forgot to include a tier. So my form elements are exporting all of these so that I am able to export them more cleanly here. And yeah, that's why I, again, am kind of aggregating all of these subcomponents into just form elements, because then whenever I input form elements, I can just have one line rather than, 3 lines right here. But now that said, let's go ahead and figure out how to use this checkbox component. So the checkbox component, we can put under the image, and what is it? So this references activation status, and I will say activate, yeah, we can just use the same one. Activate product. And now let's see how we're looking. Okay. So activate product, that's true. When you uncheck it, it's false. Looking good. Name, description, we got a thumbnail. We're looking fantastic here. It's the other thing I'm selling. If anyone wants to buy a nice dresser, espresso wood, great condition, just has a little crack on the mirror, but there you go. And all right, so we got name, description, image. What else are we gonna need to do? Let me actually clean up some of this stuff. Okay, so a product has activation status. Actually, we just need to add those other forms or form elements. So activation status, check. Description, checked. Image, check. Price amount. So let's do that. And where do I want it? Let's put it under the image as well. Yeah, since we have like all the product information and all the pricing information on bottom. So on that note, so under the preview, under the bumper, what was the field name? Price amount. And we'll just say, actually, what did I say in TNBOS? Price amount. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So price amount, and this is going to be a type number. All right. So this is going to be type number, And let me just make sure that, okay. So the type of this input accepts text, number, or password. Text is the default, so we need to pass a number right here. And then after this, what we need to do is we need to have a field for the price core, and this is going to be drop down of all the cores. And let me see how I did this as well. So price network, okay, one more. Okay. So in my form elements, since this is going to be drop down, we need a select right here. And then for the options, where are these options coming from? Use network select options. And this is just going to be a list of select options, which are what? These. Interesting. Fascinating, fascinating, fascinating. Okay, easy enough. So first, let's copy this select component and form element select, and now make sure it's compatible with this project. So the styles, first of all, come from styles. The color for the error message. What is the color for the error message? Colors palette red. I'm thinking I should colors palette red. Ooh, okay. So we already are in, oh yeah. Colors palette red, and what other, for the label of this color, set of colors font muted, we'll just do that for now. And all right, now in here, types, okay. So we need a select option type in our typings. So under types, where did I have this select option? So under types, forms, select option. So I'm just going to copy this file, types, forms, and now A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So types, forms, and that was called select option. Element P, Q, R, S, E, F, G, yada, 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 tomato, tomato. Okay, so select option has a disabled boolean. So really, you need a value to make it work, and everything else is good. All right, so that select component should be good. Just need to import it here. All right. So looking good, looking good, looking good, looking good, looking good. Okay. So now in TNBOS, let's figure out how we use that select. Okay, and where was it? I had it right on top of the price amount. So price amount, actually, did I even import this? No. Okay. So the price network, what did I name it? Price core. So basically, what digital currency do you want to use? And we'll eventually calculate this in a little bit better way. But now it takes an object where the value, we'll just say something like just give it two quick ones for testing. All right, and now if everything worked, we should have a select menu. So let's see. Yes, it's a little bit wide. Have to work on our styling for this. But basically, you have all this selected. Do you want TNB or VTX, and how much? We'll do 20. The component is changing from uncontrolled to controlled. And that should not be happening. And that was when I adjusted price mount. That's interesting. Why didn't I get it that time? Maybe something with a React render? Okay, let's go through this again. Yada yada, do this, selling this Python logo, TNB, VTX. Okay. I guess it was just something with maybe hot reloading or something. But either way, all of this info is looking good. All right, I think we're ready to start sending this data up. And did we miss any fields? So we need description, name, price amount, quantity, price core. Okay. Cool. Now, let's go ahead and actually request the backend. And before we do that, however, we're going to need to set up quite a few things. So we need an API endpoint to hit, and let's see what we can copy. Maybe cores is a good example. All right. So we are pretty much going to be building out our API endpoints right here. And can I just give this to ChatGPT and say, make one of these for products? And actually, this is going to work great because the data is form data as well. Yeah. Actually, I don't even think I need ChatGPT. I think it's just simple find and replace. So, all right, we're making a new TypeScript file called products. And it's going to be just like these functions. However, instead of core, we are doing it for product. And instead of the endpoint cores, it's going to be products. And now let me just read through this. Okay. So we are importing product, and the base URL is whatever environment we're on, either the live environment or our local host. And then it's the endpoint product. So creating product, we're going to be passing in form data, and we're going to be getting back a product object, which, just to clarify, is this right here with, yes, all of this, and the seller is nested as a user-rated serializer. And then this is just going to return the response data or throw an error. And we want these headers as well. Yes, authorization form headers, because we're using form data. And that is because JSON won't work because we have image data included. Now for delete product, whenever we do this, we're just going to be passing in an ID. And it's just going to hit delete on that endpoint. Now for getting products, we're going to get back a product list. And for updating products, it's the same thing, except we pass in an ID as well. So that looks good. So now what we need to do is we need to make our dispatcher, since this is pretty much just our communication with the API. But now we need a dispatcher to kind of use this and dispatch this data to our Redux store. So that is products, and probably steal these from cores as well. Okay. So replace core with product and replace cores with products. And unset product. Yeah, I'm gonna need that as well. Okay. So, one last dispatcher, or let me pull this up. Can't talk, type at the same time. Okay. So under cores, I also have this reducer function, which is for deleting. So this is for setting a list. This is for setting an individual one, and this is for deleting one of those. And now let me just replace core with product. Okay, so, all right. So to add a product, you call set product. To add a list of products, you call set products. And to delete one, you call unset product and pass in the ID of that. State products, it's a number, and it's just gonna delete that from the state. Okay. And now this should be good unless we named it unset product. Wait a minute. Yeah, this should be good. Interesting. Oh, didn't export it. So embarrassing. Unset product. Okay. Now let me read through these. So for my dispatcher functions, I name them the same as my API endpoints just because, I don't know, it's like a very intuitive naming. However, when I import them, I have to just rename the imports so I don't get naming conflicts. So create product, delete product, get products, and update 1, 2, 3, 4. That takes care of everything. And then these are my reducer functions. So for creating product, we're going to pass in the form data, and then it's going to call the create product endpoint. And then as long as I didn't get an error, it is going to set that product in my store. Now for deleting it, I'm going to pass in an ID, and it's going to call the delete product endpoint. And then once it's deleted from the back end, it's just going to call unset product to delete it from my store on the front end. And then same thing, or not same thing, but with get products, what I'm going to do, it's not going to take any arguments, just fetching all the products. And of course, we're at support for like query parameters and filtering, so on and so forth. But for right now, just getting kind of the structure set. But anyways, whenever we get the products, it's going to set those using set products, since this is going to be a list, not one. And then for updating, you're going to call the patch endpoint on the back end, and then you just set the product again, and it's going to overwrite whatever is in there. So looks good. Now what we can do is we can say create product and import from dispatcher's products. So we want to import create product from dispatcher's products, and then we are going to want to call this whenever we click the handle submit button. So for that, we're going to need dispatch. And actually, what is going on here? Why are you not dispatching? Interesting. Wait, what are you doing with this data then? Response data. Wait, the request data. Oh, here we go. Await create recipe. Oh, they're not even. Huh, this one's just using the endpoint directly, but I don't think I want to do that. You know why? So most of the time, what I'm going to be doing is, you know, like you always want to keep your backend and front end in sync, and most of the time, like whenever you create something on the back end, then you want to store it on your front end, obvious reasons. But since how I had it set up on my recipe social network, I'm just creating it on the back end and not even worrying about storing it on the front end, because after that, I'm navigating to this recipes details page, and this recipes details page, whenever you just visit that, it fetches that recipe right off the bat, so that way, I mean, it's a little bit more performant since, I mean, at this point in time when it fetches it on this page, it's going to be overriding anything that's in the store anyways. But I'm thinking of this is the logic that I'm going to go with. Okay, so I need to think about this from a user's perspective. I guess there are two different things that we can do. Whenever I add a product here, so my page looks kind of like this. Actually, let's just pull up our page. So the question is, when I'm done adding a product here and I hit submit and it goes ahead and creates it on the back end, do I want to be taken to this product details page, or do I just want to be taken to my list of products right here? And I think after I create this, then I would want to be taken to this page. So do I need to even store this in Redux? Because this page is going to fetch my products. You know what? I think it's better this way. Yeah, let's just go with this, and we can change it up to make it a little bit more performant later on. May have be setting data that I don't need to, but you know, what's the harm for now? At least we can test it to make sure it's working. Okay, so what this is going to do, whenever in here, whenever I handle submit, let me get rid of this. There's too much stuff going on. My brain can't handle it. Okay, so in my cooking front end, what I need to do is I need to make this request data such as so. And then with that request data, I can just dispatch it. Actually, let me put this in the try catch. So try to do this. Should have searched for something else. Okay. All right. So for my error handling, I like to log out the error and then display a toast to the user. And for that, I'm just gonna steal this. All right. So try to make this request, and if you get an error, just log it out in the console and say error. Actually, I can probably steal it from here. Yeah. Well, I'll just say error creating recipe right now, but I'll have to update this, because if they are updating the recipe, then it would say error updating recipe. But since we don't have any update logic yet, just creation, then this is fine for now. And I also want to get my dispatch. Whoa, what's going on? Okay, so I'm also going to be using this dispatch, use dispatch and app dispatch. So from types, app dispatch, and then use dispatch is going to come from React Redux. And all right. So now I can dispatch things. And what am I going to dispatch? This create product event. So I will say, whenever I submit this, okay. All right. So I'm going to get all my request data taken care of, and then once that's taken care of, I'm going to create this and dispatch it, and the data is just the form data. Okay. All right. So let me just alphabetize these. All right. So I'm gonna pretty much need to do this for everything. So basically taking these form values and putting together my form data. And then let me read this through real quick. If initial values dot image is not equal to this, then append the image. Okay, so this is basically saying, so this logic is kind of for whenever I am editing as well, but it actually works fine for creating. So basically, if the initial values of image, which right now is just an empty string, is not equal to the value you have for image, which is going to be that file data, then basically if something changed, then append it to the request data. And the reason that I want to have this check is, let's say that the user is editing one of these products. Let me show it on this. So let's say that the user is editing this product and the image didn't change. Well, if the image stayed the same, then there's no need to send up that data, because we don't even want to include it, because then the image will just get, the same image is just going to get re-uploaded and saved in S3. So it's just a little bit, well, much more performant this way. And let's see. Okay. So activation status, description, image, name, then we need price amount, price core, quantity. Name, price amount, and I don't even believe we have a quantity, or do we? Wait a minute, price amount, we don't have quantity, do we? No. So where are we going to put quantity? Name, description, maybe under description, or maybe under price amount. Let's do it under price amount. And this is going to be a number as well. All right. And on that note, hopefully, whenever this gets submitted, we should have an object on our back end. So let's go ahead and pull that up first. Okay. So for products, let's say that we don't have anything yet. Just delete those. We don't need them. Okay. Now let me go through this flow. I'm Bucky. I'm selling a product. I'm going to go ahead and add one. It's a birthday cake. It's nice and juicy. The image is, for some reason, an image of this desk. Price core TNB. Okay, this is actually incorrect, because this is going to need to be a value of where my core is at. So I have 1 and 2. So let me do that. Actually, we can even test. Yeah, let's do this. So this is going to be value 1 and value 2. And for this, okay, and I think we can just change the option type here. So under forms, the value is a string, but I believe we can just say number or string. And then we can also say the display name for this first option is TNB. Okay, gonna get EL'd at in just a bit, but okay. So this is eventually what we're gonna be building dynamically, but for now, we'll just keep everything hard-coded. And let's see, let's pretty this up. All right. Error. Type number is not assignable string. Thought we'd take care of that issue already. Okay. So now that's still working. Okay. So birthday cake. It's nice and juicy. And I will post this photo of my desk. The price amount for this birthday cake is 50 TNB. I'm going to go ahead and activate that. And then quantity, I'll do 10 birthday cakes. And I also want to change the order of these around, but let's go ahead and submit it. And we get an error on the back end. Bad request. And that is because true is not a valid, price core is null, which should not be the case. And activation status is true. Oh yeah, forgot. Instead of true and false, we're using active in draft. So for price core, let's take care of that one first. So price core, why are you not registering? So the name is price core. Okay, let's just log out these values. So console log values. All right, so price core is an empty string. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So is that because I didn't select one of these? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, price core equals 1 right now. Okay. So yeah, so anyways, the reason that price core was none at first is because the way my select or drop down component is set up is that this value doesn't pretty much the value doesn't get set until you click on the menu and choose something. And then because I didn't do that, the value never got set. So actually, let me see if that, okay. So that works. I just need to fix this activation status now. So let's do that. And let's see what we did in TNBOS. So source, apps, shop, pages. So product details. Okay. Wait a minute. Printer content, modal. Oh wait, I'm on the wrong page. Here we go. Okay, so for activation status, handle submit, activation status, we just say, okay. Actually, this works really well. Okay, so what we will say for activation status is if the value for activation status is true, in other words, if the checkbox is checked, then we just wanna, and where is, we can go to here. Okay, so I want to get activation status from enums, ABCDE, and we can just say this. So if it is checked, then that means you want activation status active. Otherwise, you want activation status draft. And then this activation status can be in the form for that. And then everything else should be good to go. But again, that's what I said last time and it didn't work out. Came across some errors. But let's see how things are looking this time. And also for this, what I'm gonna add is something like this. So because it needs to be selected now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give it a display of hyphen and a value of 0, and this is just gonna be the default. And then they're gonna need to select one of the valid cores. Okay. So now, from the top, name, birthday cake, description, nice and juicy. This image of my desk. The price core, I want to be paid in TNB. How much is this? This is worth 100. I'm going to go ahead and activate it. And the quantity, I'll just have 4 of these for sale. Go ahead and hit submit. And now, we didn't write any logic to say success or anything, but it looks like, yeah. All right, beautiful. Looking nice. Seller, Bucky, 24. My image is uploaded. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. So now a couple of things that we need to do. First, we need to do some styling. Well, an easy thing I want to get out of the way right now is I want to move this activation to the very last thing. So it just appears right there. I think it's a little bit better. And now for the styling, what I'm probably going to do is I'll probably center align everything. I think that'll look a bit better. And then aside from styling updates, what we need to decide is what actually happens when the user clicks submit and they create a product. And for that logic, what I'm thinking is we probably want to display a toast message that says product created successfully, and also just take them back to this page, which is the equivalent of this page right here. Now, another thing that we could do is we can take them to the product details page. But what would they be expecting? What would I want? So what I'm thinking is that I would probably want to be taking just to my products page as a seller, because if I added a product, then chances, well, first of all, it's going to appear at the very top, which is good feedback. And also, I may be more likely to add another product right after. Since, for example, if I'm selling a bunch of stuff, I probably just want that. Okay, so what we'll do is this. Once they go ahead and submit a product successfully, we'll display a toast and we will bring them back to this page right here. So let's do that right now. That should be a piece of cake. So first thing I'm gonna need, let's just clear all this out. Okay, pages, shop, sell products. Actually, that was create and edit product. Now I want to navigate them to somewhere else. So I'm going to be using this logic. And all right, so this is going to come from use navigate, which is coming from React Router DOM, React Router DOM, and then navigate is going to come from the use navigate hook. And then to use navigate, we just call navigate and then the route. And that is going to happen right after you dispatch it. And what is the route of that? That is just shop, sell products. So shop, sell products. And I also want to clean out my imports, code optimize imports, and display a toast. If I can type, okay. So I'm going to be displaying a toast, and that is utils toast under display toast. And I want it to be green, so I need to put the toast type, and that's coming from enums. Toast type, okay. So I'm going to be displaying a toast right before I reroute them. So something like this. Okay. So create product and then display post that says created Product created. Get some excitement going there. And all right, let's see what we got going on here, right here. Okay, I'm gonna create a new product, this time chicken and cauliflower pasta. It's sweet. And I got any more interesting photos? Okay. Interesting. Let's just, okay, we can use this Steve Jobs quote as the product photo for now. This one's going to be VTX. Just test that out too. The price amount is going to be 26, and the quantity is 10 of these. And I'm not going to activate this one, but I'm going to submit it. We got product created, and we are taken back to our products page. Looking good. Okay, so from here, what I'm going to do is start building out my products page now that we have like the product creation functionality taken care of. So actually, I'm probably going to go eat dinner right now, and then when I come back, we can start tackling this products page, basically building out these products. So pulling these from our store, and yeah, well, we'll talk about the logic in that video. But on that note, yeah, I mean, this is it's looking pretty good. So got some styling work to do here, and of course, well, a long way to go before I can sell that wooden spoon of mine. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.